Okay, you guys, let's do this. It's going to be so professional. Like, so professional. Here we go. Welcome to the Live Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele and June Colson, a couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, that's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Live Support. With Michele, who's really short. We'll have a ball. With June, who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Live Support. With Michele, who's really short. Now it's time to start Live Support.
The Live Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Wow, give yourself a round of applause. Welcome to the award-winning Live Support Podcast. I'm your host, June Colson, here with the most amazing co-host in the universe, my best friend, Michele with one L, Trisha's sister, Rhonda Colson, Corey's friend. Don't call me Shelly. Michele Van Dusen. What's up, little buddy?
Oh man, that's fun. Let's see what's up. What's been happening? So much has been happening. Weather-wise, I'll put it that way. The weather has been crazy.
So Michele, Michele lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Go ahead and give our listeners your street address so they can swing by and say hi, Michele.
333.
No,
South.
Don't really give your address out. There's crazy people out there. There's crazy people. But yeah, okay, here's the deal, Pickle. I watch the weather in Tulsa. I'm scared to death of tornadic weather. And my best friend lives in a major area for tornadic activity. And I watch it like I can do anything about it. And so here I am in Kentucky watching tornado warnings and weather coming through. And I'm like, oh, poor Michele. Oh, I hope Michelle's okay. And what are you doing, Michele? What are you doing while I can't sleep? What are you doing?
I'm sending you Marcos.
Or you just go to bed. You just go to sleep.
I did not this time. This last time, I actually didn't go to sleep. I don't know why. I just stayed awake. But here's the thing. I always make sure that I have my shoes on, my pants, I got my wallet on me, ID on you. I never, it's the crazy weather stuff. I like watching to see where things are heading or landing so I can spend some time praying and things like that. And I there's times that I will just we're good, and then I'll just go to sleep. But other times I'm like, nope, gotta stay. So this past weekend was one of those, I just need to stay on it kind of a thing.
Yeah. And for good reason, because somewhere, not far enough that you weren't in the horrible weather, but is it sulfur? Is that what it's called? Sulfur, Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they hit really hard, weren't they? So
yeah. So now the cleanup process is happening, and people are collecting the things that they need to bring and donate, and then usually oh wow, I should have had this ready as to what organizations that you can sign up to go help, because people need debris moved. People need, there's things that need to happen in the recovery process. So I'll pull that up and put it on our show notes. So if anybody wants to, volunteer, those are the agencies to sign up with.
That would be great. I know, 2 years ago, December 11th, we had come through Warren County, actually through the state of Kentucky. It was the longest tracking tornado in the history of them recording tornadic activity. There's never been one that stayed on the ground as long as it did. And it came through multiple states and came right through the heart of the town that I live in. And either 17 or 19 people lost their lives. Whole neighborhoods in our community was completely devastated. And it was really which sounds like, I don't want to be super down. It's a live sport podcast. We want to lift people up. But when you're talking about volunteer efforts, there were people from all over the country who showed up. Rescue teams came and searched for the victims. But then there were also a lot of groups that came in full on. They had their own equipment, like camping equipment and materials that they needed, cots and stuff. If there was just a church, it would open up the doors to them. They would pop up their cots. They had trucks and trailers and backhoes, like big, heavy equipment that they came in. One group was out of Virginia that I got to work with. And, and this is what they do. They go to different spots in the country and they just go help people clean up. So while it's really heartbreaking to know that people are going through that, and our prayers definitely go out to the folks who, have been devastated by that tornadic system. There are still so many great people in the world that are helping other people.
And that's the beautiful thing during tragedy, is that's when you get to see humanity at its finest.
Yeah.
Because when people come together, and what was it? Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers always said, at those times, look for the helpers, helpers. And so, and I love the fact that his mom passed that down to him, and then he passed it down to generations of kids that got to watch his show. So So watch for the helpers. And how does this connect in with comedy? Part of it is, today we're going to be talking about comedy is a business.
Yeah.
And in the fact that since it is a business, when tragedy hits and things hit, are you prepared? Are you handling your comedy as a business? I mean, what are the things that you need to make sure that you have ready, whether it's tragedy or good weather, good times? Are you ready to do your business?
Sorry. When you say do your business, that's what my mom refers to as the bathroom. Get in there and do your business and get out. Are you ready, comedians, to do your business? Ew, we don't do podcast. And Rhonda Corey is now tuned out. And that will be our Rhonda Colson Corey moment. Our Rhonda Corey moment is she doesn't do potty humor either. So we lost that listener. Yeah, no. So yes, comedy is a business. And today we're talking about, well, what do we want to talk about today? And you brought up just those aspects. So I know you made some notes, made a list. So I just throw some things out there that you were thinking about, and let's talk about it.
Well, you know what? Actually, since we started off with the weather and tragedies and things like that, what about when you're traveling? If you're on the road or you're taking a flight, what are the things that you have to have ready to go for that? When you're ready to go, let's take care of it.
Well, I experienced that this year, Michelle. Stop imagining people doing their business. This is inappropriate. I'm just going to wait, because one of my favorite things in the world is Michelle's giggle. And especially when it's just an unexpected thought. So, oh, that's so unfair. She muted herself. To our listeners, we're almost in the Michelle catching her breath, teary-eyed phase. So, okay. I ran into this year. The travel, the drama. We talked about this in February. I was not prepared, Michelle, to do my business. Listen to the little squeaky giggle. It's coming. Okay. Get together, Michelle. This is not very professional of you to be talking about this. Okay, I definitely didn't have myself together this year. In February, you could go back and listen to the podcast we talked about then. I found myself in the middle of an unexpected snowstorm, and I did not have what I needed in my vehicle. And I posted video on my story and all of that on my comedy page about how no one expected it. I was driving into Indianapolis and they just had a freak snowstorm. It wasn't really that it was like 30 inches of snow. It was the amount of snow and how fast it fell that the roads couldn't be cleared and people were just running off the road. And had I paid more attention before I left, I would have, actually I did. I will say this much. Sometimes you just don't know what's coming. I tried to do what was right. I checked the weather. There was really like 5% chance of snow in Indianapolis over the weekend I was going to be there. So rather than taking my 4Runner, I took my little Camry, and I was getting ready to leave Georgetown because I had had a show in Eastern Kentucky, stopped in Kentucky, spent the night, and I was about to head to Indianapolis. My sister was going to come to the show, who lives in Indiana, and she messages me wanting to know if I'm on the road yet. And what should have been like a 2.5 hour drive ended up being over 4 hours to get to my destination. And fortunately, she had reached out to me. So I stopped on the way, found a dollar store beside like a Shoe Sensation or some like, outlet shoe place, and bought myself some snow boots. All I had was a thin blue jean jacket. Normally, if I'm traveling in the snow, I've got like a little mini heater that's got a little tiny propane thing on it. I'll bring blankets, I'll bring water, some protein bars, and people needed that who were out on the roads. I passed so many people that were being pulled out of ditches, that law enforcement was with, that were just sliding off the road, and I was doing everything I could to get to where I was going. So yeah, you can't go and do your job or your business, Michelle. You can't go do my business if I can't get there, if you can't get there.
Yeah.
So proper things inside your vehicle is important. But what else did you have written about vehicles?
Also, you got to make sure that you're up to date on your maintenance. Is your oil changed? Because if you're going to head out for a 2-week trip, let's say, you got to make sure that your oil's functioning, all your fluids are correct in your car. So just make sure that you keep up with all your maintenance that you need for your vehicle. So that's and part of the business side of it is you have to make sure that you're logging your miles.
Yes.
So it's not just gas receipts, it's miles. So learn that on the taxes. Whoops.
Yes. Definitely check with your accountant to find out what it is that you can write off, whether it's mileage, whether it's maintenance to your vehicle. But to recap what you said, before you go do your business, you need to make sure your fluids are good. Is that correct, Michele?
That is exactly what I said. Make sure your gas is good to go.
You've got good gas before you go do your business, and that your fluids are good. This is so off the rails right now.
or if you drive a hybrid or whatever, you make sure that it's all charged up.
Did you say hybrid?
Yeah, something. I don't know what. Electric vehicle. I have no idea what you guys are using these days. I don't know. Highbrow car. I don't know.
Just a hybrid, highbrow, hybrid. That's what I drive. No, I don't.
Plug it in. Just make sure,
Yeah, so back to business. We're very business-like. Okay, so we want to make sure that whenever we go on the road, we have a good vehicle, that we pay attention to rotating the tires, the oil changes, the weather conditions that we're traveling into. Got it. All right.
Yeah, all the things. Well, you want to definitely make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because if you're out there on the road or just any kind of show, any kind of thing like that, you want to make sure that physically that you're taking care of yourself. So if you're working out, if you're eating right, because I know as comics, the typical thing to do is to do your show and then go eat or drink. And then that's how you're just going to, and then you don't feel good the next day. And then you sleep till noon or 1 o'clock or whatever. So you want to make sure that you're keeping a good schedule for yourself, but you also want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself emotionally. So, and it's going to be different for different people. So, when you're traveling, you don't want to stay in your hotel room. You want to get out, you want to go see what's good about that town that you're in, or, things like that. Like go see the museum. Like I love that Gordon Douglas, he always checks the local scene of whatever's happening. Plus, as people watchers, as comedians, that you're going to see something out there in the public that's going to just give you more comedy fodder, which then brings it. And it's great to be able to bring those comedy insights for that town, for locally. So for whatever show you have. So there's one comedian that I work with. He always does a bit about the what is it, the 5-star rating, the ratings or the reviews that people give about that town or about that event place that he's at or whatever. Yeah, so he's always doing those. So he's like 1 star, and he reads the comments that people have left for things. It's such a funny little thing that he does at every one of his shows. I love it. Um, and then you also want to make sure, like, emotionally, if you need to take a vacation, do it. If you were working a normal 9 to 5, 365 days a year kind of a thing, whatever, people take 2 weeks off. They take a vacation.
Yeah.
So go ahead and take a vacation. I love Lauren Lucille. She runs the Unknown Tour. One of the things that she does, she has seasons
Yes.
of touring season, and
Yeah.
then she has a season where she's, not touring. And I love that. I love that she's made her family
Yeah.
priority, that she's not just running and running and running. And then, that one day you turn around and go, oh, I just lost my family and my marriage. And, because you were pursuing one thing. So
Right.
she has her priorities right, and she has these seasons of
Mhm.
travel, seasons staying home, seasons of traveling, so do that. Take care of yourself and your family. So that's a couple more things. Now we did earlier we talked about contracts. So give us some insights about, like, what's a good contract, what's a bad contract, or
Mhm.
for businesses, because comedy is a business. So June,
Yeah.
tell us
Okay.
about contracts.
I'm going to back up just a little bit on the just a real life application situation to what you just said. So I was just doing a show in North Carolina. Flew in the tour manager, the other comic. We met, or she was a speaker. Met at the airport, picked up the rental car, got something to eat, then went to the hotel. Um, these are not people that like I've spent a lot of time with. I've done. This was actually for the one girl, it was the first time I had met her, right? And so one thing when you're doing comedy with other people, there are different personalities. I'm a social person. I'm a conversational person. If they were like, hey, we're going to, eat, go check in our room, we'll meet back down in the lobby, hang out for a little bit, I'm totally down with that. But if they're like, yeah, we're all going to bed, see you tomorrow. Okay, see you tomorrow. I'm kind of either way about it. However, I'm not good at staying in the hotel room. It does, I have to be outside. Michelle, I in my own home, I don't spend a lot of time inside my house. I like to be outdoors. If I'm reading or writing, I'm sitting on the back patio, I'm sitting on the front porch. I like to be outside. So mental health wise, it was such a great tip, is to just get out of the room or out of the hotel room. Now for me, this last round, there really wasn't any place close because we were so close to the airport. There was no place close to walk. And normally
Mm.
I'll just get out and go for a walk. I'll run my material in my head, talk to myself. I couldn't do that. So I say, just open the windows. If you can exercise in the room, do that, or just go downstairs and get on the treadmill and just walk. You don't have to, do a full on crazy workout, but just walk for a little bit. So if you're in an environment, maybe it's not safe to go outside the hotel room and walk around, or there's just not a good spot. So if this is a safe hotel, there were no safe roads or pathways to walk on. I would literally be in a
Mhm.
parking lot or a main highway. So for me, it was just, I knew mentally I'll wear myself out if I just sit in this hotel room in these walls. And so I opened the windows, let the sunlight come in. I turned on a praise and worship workout. There's a lot of Christian, actual Christian workouts out there. Some I think they're going a little too far, like
Yeah.
Proverbs planks. There's a lady doing Proverbs and planks. She sits doing a plank and she's reading Proverbs. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I would get through like Proverbs 1:1, and then that would be
Mhm.
it. That'd be the whole workout. I cannot hold
Yeah.
myself up in a plank, but I could
Yeah.
dance around like an idiot. And I was on the backside of the hotel, so nobody could see me. And I just listened to praise and worship music, and wrote my set list out, and just tried to do things to like mentally, keep myself
Mhm.
healthy. And then when you mentioned Lauren, how she
Yeah.
has these travel seasons, it makes me think about anybody in any other job. Like you said, they'll take a couple weeks off.
Mhm.
If you are married and have children, don't just take off to take off to do a vacation and plan that vacation where you can hit a couple open mics and you can, because your family deserves your attention too. Your
Mhm.
children deserve to know that they're the most important thing. Your spouse deserves to know that they're the most important thing. And I don't believe that when you're 75 years old, that you're going to say, wow, I wish I would have spent more time at an open mic and less time just hanging out on the beach with my kids and making them the priority. It's no different than any other job. If we go on vacation and my husband works the whole time, or all he's thinking about is work the whole time, you're not really spending time with your family or your significant other. You need that break. And as you said, when you're going out and you're living life, it just gives you, you're refreshed and you have the opportunity for more material. You
Yep.
know, waiting at the rental car place, I met a lady named Catherine, and it was the best conversation with her. It was so much fun. And I literally could write about the experience that I had with this woman who she had been married for 2 years. Her husband had passed away, and the man she had just got married to, his wife had passed away, and it was an older couple, and she was going to meet his family, and he was the oldest of 5 brothers, and there was just this great conversation I got to have with her. But that wouldn't have happened if I just stayed shut up in my shell and not paid attention to the people and the things around me. So yeah, I just want to add that. As far as contracts go, get a
Yeah.
contract. Reach out to other comedians, ask, hey, what kind of contract do you put out? They don't necessarily have to share their numbers
Right.
of, financially, I ask for this or whatever. But that's kind of what we've done. I hired a comedian 2022. So I had his contract. I asked a couple of our friends that we do a lot of writing and communicating with, hey, do you mind if I look at your contracts to see what you use? And I basically pieced together from a few different people what their contracts look like to do something that made it comfortable for me. So what I do is, in my contract, it'll have an estimated amount of time of performance, because we can't control all the elements.
Mhm.
And so if something crazy happens, or the power goes out, or, whatever, and they go, well, you only did 20 minutes. So, we're only going to give you, well, if there's elements out of my control. So I always do an approximate for the time of performance, because literally someone could be a jerk and time it out to the second and go, oh, you went 40 seconds over, or you went 40 seconds under. And so we're not going to pay you the full fee. Like, are there people out there that would do that? Absolutely. Have I dealt with that personally? Fortunately, no. I've had some amazing people that I've got to work for. But if you have that contract, you don't have to worry about it. I also have it in a clause where, basically it says if there's death, illness, natural disaster, accident, or an unsafe ability to travel to your location, that
Mhm.
will either reschedule at a time that's convenient for both parties, or I will do my best to find a performer of equal caliber to perform in my place. So, like, we just had Christy Condor on here not long ago. She and I, we live an hour from each other.
Mhm.
And we joke about, like, I just sent her a T-shirt with doppelgangers on it because it was her birthday, and people call us each other's doppelganger or our comedy twin.
Mhm.
I literally have somebody who does clean comedy, is a female, almost looks like me, and we do totally different material, but 100%. If it's one that I'm driving to an hour or two from here and something happens, the first person I'm going to call is my friend Christy, because I know that she's going to put on a great show, that she lives in the same general area that I do, and that we operate comedically. There she is. Look at that, Christy Condor. We operate, pretty similar in our comedic styles. And so in my contract, I have that. I have what the deposit is, what the final payment is. I use
Mhm.
DocuSign, and that's just an electronic way for me to send a contract. They sign it, it comes back to me, I sign it, and then both of us get an electronic copy of this document. I'm able to put specific things in there, like if there's if somebody wants my writer, or what equipment that I need, those type of things.
Okay.
It protects you. And a lot of people got burnt during COVID because
Mm.
they didn't have contracts like that, and they got burnt both directions. And so I think if we learned anything out of that experience is to get things in writing to protect yourself and to protect the people that are hiring you.
I like that. You got to protect yourself when you're doing your business.
Yes, that's right. That's
But
right.
two things. The DocuSign, is that a paid thing that you have to get to use, or is it something that's already like in a Google?
That's a
You
good
know.
question. My part-time comedy manager set that up for me. So
Okay.
I think so. I think I did like a year. I don't know. They would have to look
Okay.
that up, and I'm sure that they're, obviously not a sponsor of the podcast, and tech stuff I'm horrible with, but I believe that you can do like so many documents a month, or you can pay. It's like most of these subscriptions, you can pay for like a whole year and get a discount. So yeah, I would just, that's one that I've used and it's worked out well for me. But just definitely do your research, find the one that works best for you. But I like the fact that I'm not printing out a bunch of files and a bunch of copies, and it's
Mhm.
electronic. They have a copy, I have a copy. I mean, I'm one who's still probably going to print the copy. I like to put it in the file
You
and
have to.
have it, because if anything happens as far as cyber wise or whatever, I still have that copy in a file. I'm just a paper, like I have a paper calendar. I still put my stuff on a paper calendar. I don't like it in my phone. I like to physically look at it. That's weird, but I do it.
No, it's not weird. It's actually, I think it's a much better, because there's something about when you're writing with your hand, the actual words of in this date, kind of a thing. It logs in your brain in a manner of way that's much easier for your brain to understand than
Mm.
just using the motion with your thumbs, or your finger, depending on how you text or write into your
Yeah,
phone.
yeah.
So it logs it, so you get this extra backup, which is a good thing. But now,
I think what I need to do though is, because I use the paper calendar, is I need to photograph the month when I fill.
mhm.
I need to take a photograph of that, because I don't want to type it all in and all that mess. But if I ever lost my calendar, that would be a big problem. And I have to travel with it too. I got to throw it in the suitcase and make sure. And it worked out. Like I had somebody reach out and want to book me for a date in September, and I had to wait until I could get to my paper calendar to look and see what I had for that month. And
See, I back it up. I have my paper calendar, but then I take it and I put it in my phone so I know something is happening on
yeah,
that date. I don't have all the details, but I have it on the calendar. So I get it. You're not weird. I totally get it. I'm a paper person too. Absolutely. Now you mentioned also a writer. Now, for some of our listeners, they might not know that that's a different document
yeah.
than a contract. So you want to expound a little bit on what a writer is?
So as far as a writer, it's just basically the basic needs that people are requesting for their performance. Some people will have dietary needs. If there's going to be food provided, it may be that they have food allergies, or they specifically want something in the green room. And so it's just basically the performer's needs at that venue, so that whoever has hired them are able to fulfill that. It could be like, for me, and you and I both do this, like I don't want ice water, I don't want a cold bottle of water, I like room temperature water.
Mhm.
After that, it's like when people are like, well, what kind of snacks do you need, or do you need, whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, and these are the requests. It is requesting, like, I would like a private area close to a restroom, or my own private restroom if possible, so I can go do my business. You know what I mean, Michelle?
Do your
And
business while you're doing your business. I like it. I love it.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, some people have very specific needs that they ask for. We hear jokes about these writers, because it's like,
Mhm.
oh, so and so only wants green M&Ms, and they have to have peanut M&Ms, or
And
they
peeled.
yes, and peeled, yeah, and they want daisies, and and the room
Yeah.
has to be set at 68.325 degrees, and like there's jokes about diva performers, but it really is helpful in a lot of
Yeah.
venues. Want to know that, what can we do to make you comfortable, and it's just easier to be able to send something, and it makes it easier on both people.
So now here's a good question for it the on the writer. Is it on the writer, or is it on the contract that for your performance needs that you need, or is that a whole nother page you're going to do performance needs that, you need a stool, you need a microphone, you need
I
sound
have
check,
that,
like,
I have that on my contract.
mhm,
That we're doing sound check and the stool and those type of things, like, because I have a line for equipment needed, those type of things. And so I think that's a safety measure where I've gotten to an event, a corporate event, given them all the things I needed to make a successful show, and then went in there and they had nothing. They had a tiny little stage with a giant podium with a little bitty microphone that, like, I had to stand behind a podium to do
mhm.
comedy in a room that was super loud, super bright, like all the things that they agreed they were going to do to make it a good comedy show. They did not. Halfway through the show, they open the back doors, they start rolling in beer carts and free buffalo wings and all of this mess, and people on the phone now in the corner. And it was just, I mean, it was, and they could have said, you were awful and we're not going to pay you because of, but they didn't do anything I asked them to do to set up the space in an appropriate way, even though they
That
signed up that they would. Now, I did
mhm.
my time. I was doing 25 minutes that night before they did their award ceremony. I'd already spoke that morning at a different event for them. I still did my time. While they ate their wings, talked on the phone, and ignored me, I still did my time. But they couldn't fault me for the environment that I was in and try to, withhold payment because
Mhm.
it didn't go well. Well, I did my part. They didn't do theirs. And so that's actually on my contract.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's really good that you have that already in your contract. So they know what to
Mhm.
expect and they've signed off on it, which is really good. Now, let's talk about websites because some of this information about having a good event, a good comedy event,
Yeah.
uh, a lot of people don't have that information or they don't know how to put on a good comedy event. And so I know that we have a couple of friends on their web pages.
Mhm.
They have a page dedicated to this is how you should probably set it up,
Yeah.
with your table seating and no one eating during the performance and like little things like that.
Yeah.
Do you have that kind of a thing on your website? And what kind of website do you have?
I do not. I have a really simple website where someone can basically see me, see some photographs about me, read, what my background is, some of my credits, and then they can see upcoming shows. And so
Mhm,
mine is very simplified. It's not a in-depth and deep, complicated website. As I grow, if I get a bigger following, I would definitely probably be paying someone to make my website a little more in depth. But I think we can also go a little, like, you don't do anything at all because you think you have to do all of it at once. And
mhm,
for me, it wasn't that. I wouldn't put anything out if it felt like I had to have all of that out there. What I do have out there, if you go to junebugcomedy.com, you're going to see a picture of me. You're going to see a general, bio about me. You're going to get to see a video of different clips of me doing comedy in different venues. You'll see a couple testimonials from people,
mhm,
some photographs in different locations so that you can kind of picture me at a corporate event, or picture me at a church, or picture me at a comedy club. Like, you'll literally get to see a picture of that, and then upcoming dates if they want to come see me. So mine is very simplistic. Also, I do my website myself. I did it through Squarespace. um, Not a sponsor, but I have horrible tech skills and I was able to put together, and I can go on and change pictures and things like that on there. So I think find something that's either you hire someone to do it or find one that's user friendly for you. Because for me, if it's hard, I don't do it. I get frustrated. I go on. I just want to change a picture. The what I used before did not go well, and I didn't change anything. I just got frustrated every time I went on. It was complicated. It was too in depth. I just needed something to do exactly what I just described to you. I want some
mhm.
pictures. I want them to be able to see a video of me. I want them to be able to contact me, imagine me in their venue, and see what my upcoming shows are. and that I can do myself. And
That's
so, yeah,
good.
that's great. It's great that, I mean, some of our friends have some really, really in depth websites, and that's great. But I say, if you can't do that right now, don't just say, well, I'll do nothing. Do something.
Hmm.
Do something where someone can look you up and feel like, yeah, this is a legit person. I have a few friends that are amazing, legit comedians that you would never know by looking them up. If you looked
Mm.
at social media, if you've tried to find a clip of them, or you went to their website, or non existent. I've got a friend who's been doing comedy over 30 years and you can't find them.
How do people find him? How do they hire him?
Well, you assumed it was a guy, but you
I
are
did.
doing that. They've just been around doing it for so long. It's word of mouth and those type of things. But what's difficult is I was trying to pitch somebody to a show that I'm got to pick the comics for.
Hmm.
And I couldn't find anything to send to the booker, to the person booking this particular group of people. I'm like, this person would be great for you, but there was nothing out there. I had nothing
Yeah.
to send. And I'm like, how have you been doing this long? And I can't find something to send, that was crazy. So don't go with nothing. Give them something so that people can reach
Hmm.
out to you.
Okay, so with that of having a good website and contact info, this kind of slides right into our next tip. Uh, Go ahead and have a friend or yourself Google yourself and
Yeah.
see what comes up, what shows when your name is put into the search bars, and then do something about it if you don't see yourself, or if you're seeing the wrong thing. Like one time, I googled myself, and a video popped up with some wording on there. I'm like, wait, what? What is this?
Yes.
And I wasn't sure if I even wanted to click on it because of the wording.
Yeah.
And, I know what I look like. So, but I went ahead and I did it. And I'm like, oh, there's nothing to this. This is a
Yeah.
legit video. But the way this other website pulled it and posted it and titled it, it made me look horrible. Like, I thought you
Yeah.
did clean comedy. I thought you did comedy in churches. And this is
Mhm.
the title. What is this? And
Yeah.
that would have knocked me out of getting a couple of jobs. So anyway, I had to reach out, and they did change the title, so that was good because they didn't
Yeah.
have to take the video down. The video's fine. It was what the description was that was with it, which was quite shocking. Um,
Yes.
so
Well, and
Google
that's
yours.
a really big deal. You're a clean comedian. Somebody took a clean clip of you and they put a dirty title to it for clickbait.
Yeah,
It's all that was. It was so people would click on that to watch, but that is not you. It doesn't represent you. Now, what you learned is where that video was taken, you had signed paperwork basically that said you're here and you're doing this thing. They can use your image, they can post your videos and all of that,
mhm,
never thinking that they were going to twist it and put something like that to it. But here's the lesson I think that was learned there. First of all, you were upset by it. It bothered you. It did not represent who you are. And unfortunately, we can't control everything that's put out on social media about us. But what you did do was give yourself a beat, take a breath, talk it over with some friends, and go, okay, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to trace this down. Where did it come from? Who posted this? And is there someone that can do something about it? And this had a happy ending.
yeah,
You found the person that posted it, respectfully said, I'm not asking you to take the video down, but this is the situation you put me in. And they were like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. And they just changed the title. Now, that might not always be the end result, but you didn't go guns ablazing, yell at someone, tell them who you are,
lawsuit.
yeah, and that you're going to sue them. You just said, look, that's not me. This is what you've done. Can you fix that? And they did. And now
Yeah,
that's gone. But you wouldn't have even known about that had you not just kind of been watching what's represented of yourself out there on social media.
yeah, yeah. That's why it's really important to check those things, and also your website and your social medias, keep them current. I
Yes.
mean, that's important. Always, try to, you don't have to, go crazy and post 15 times a day. That's not necessary. But keep things current. So
Yeah.
let people know your upcoming shows, and if you have a funny video, stick it up there. I mean, it's okay to just keep it current. Keep your business current.
Yeah.
Uh, daily,
The
do your
flow.
business.
Daily do your business and keep it flowing, keep it current. Yes.
Yep. You also mentioned follow-ups. Follow-ups is a really, really important thing in your comedy business, in business in general.
Yeah.
So go ahead and expound on what type of follow-ups and following up should we do?
Here's something that I loved. Kay Dodd, who's a friend of ours in comedy. I remember Kay saying that when she would do an event, she had, like, especially if she drove, she had thank you cards in her car. I'm pretty sure it was Kay that said this. She had thank you cards in her car, and she would not pull out of that parking lot until she wrote a personal note and addressed that card. That way, when she got home, she was ready to drop it in the mailbox. It wasn't, when I get home, I'll think about it, I'll do. No, she would write a personal note of thank you so much. I appreciate it. And she would, while it was top of the mind, she has the people's name in her head that she just worked with. Like, she doesn't go home and go, oh, what was that woman's name or whatever. I love that. It's just it's just something, to show your gratitude to the venue. We have friends who have contact cards at their actual events, and when they close out, they thank the people there, they thank the sound people, and then they let them know, if you would like me to come to your town or your church or your comedy club or wherever, I have a card in the back. And I think they keep it very simple, where it's just a few things that somebody can write on there and say, yes, I would love for you to come here. Here's my contact information. And they get work off of that because they follow up. And then if someone calls you and they're reaching out or they've emailed you, don't let that sit for several days. People want to feel important. I remember the first time I called somebody and they were like, so you're actually her? Because in their mind, I was, something bigger, I think, than I am. And they expected to be talking to an assistant or, someone else.
It's because you're really tall.
I think so. But they were
You're really big.
I'm a big girl. I do big business. That's what I'm saying. But
Daily.
they were excited to actually to speak to me, that I was the one that called and it wasn't someone who was scheduling appointments for me and those kind of things. And I think, we have friends, I had one that I was inquiring about doing a show recently, and I didn't want to text him because he is at that level where someone schedules for him. And so I reached out to the person that schedules for him. And I think so, it can feel like, wow, this person's a really big deal. But it can also feel impersonal too. It's like, oh, they won't speak to you. They don't have time for you, but you can talk to me, right? And this person thought they were going to get that it was like, oh, you don't get to actually speak to her, but we'll, whatever. And I thought that was really sweet that someone was that delusional about who they thought I was. but follow up. If you can't follow up and you do have an assistant or somebody, make sure somebody is following up for you. I believe it was John Chris that his sister, I remember listening to him talk on a podcast one time about his sister had a different last name. And it was the illusion of importance at the time that he was in that middle of the road situation where he wasn't quite big enough for someone to schedule everything. But he was getting busy enough. He needed help. And his sister didn't have the same last name. So it sounded like a different person than just, than your sister answering the phone for you, instead of Trisha answering the phone for you, it was your assistant. Right. And so, and that gave the impression that this person is in high demand. And but they always followed up. They would always follow up with whoever reached out, and never assume that, oh, well, it's just a little somebody, or it's a little church, or it's a small venue, or, give people a chance to show you who they are and what they have to offer. Because sometimes I think you're going to be surprised what, someone reaching out you may miss out on something because you're assuming that they can't afford you, or it's
Hmm.
just a small potato or something, and end up finding yourself in a pretty big place if you just give people an opportunity and make that phone call back to them.
Yeah. Oh, also on the follow-ups, because you said, if someone sends you an email or things like that, also
Mhm.
check your spam folder, because
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
their emails will go to the spam folder. And so I didn't notice that I had a request for a show in Kansas like a month after they sent it. And I was like,
yeah.
oh no. But good thing it was, wasn't going to be until several months away. So there was plenty of time uh, to handle that. But it was like, oh no, I didn't even see it. So now I make sure I check my spam on a consistent basis.
I'll show
Anyway,
you what I have too. I went and grabbed one of these, and I literally made this on Walmart's website. And it comes with it comes with envelopes,
yeah,
and just a little postcard. It's got 4 pictures of me, and then it has my website, Facebook, Instagram. Says comedian, speaker, actor, writer, and then it says
hold it.
Junebug comedy, from stand up to corporate comedy. Junebug has you covered. A few little credits right there. How you can email me, my contact phone number, all of that is
Hold
all
it
on.
up again.
Got it.
Yeah. Yep.
It's all on this card, right? And I use this for multiple things. Like I just went and spoke to some kids in elementary school, right? And so they thought this was a big deal to be able to have this picture. And the other day I ran into someone in town who said his daughter had this hanging in her room, that
Wow.
she was excited to have met me and all of that. And he goes, "You're the comedian. Did you talk to some girls?" And he said the name of the school and all of that. And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, I saw your postcard or whatever. And so I wrote a note on the back of it. It's on my table. It's a little different than a little card. It's not going to get necessarily lost when somebody takes that. And
Is that
then,
like a 4x6?
oh, I have no idea. It's the size of a postcard. It looks big on the camera there, but it's the size of a postcard, and it comes with the envelopes, and it's super cheap to have it done at Walmart. And but you can do something more professional, whatever. Um, but what's cool is it's blank. It's blank on the back. And so when I do a show, I always take this and I'll write a note on the back of it, and it's not just a note that says like thank you on it.
Mhm.
It has my picture, it has my contact information, it has more credentials. If they had hired me to do comedy, but well, they're going to see now that I also speak. I'm a speaker as well, and so they're going to see that too, and an MC or whatever. And so yeah, I follow up, and I send them a thank you card with my face on it to remind them who I am. Now a lot of people will say, oh, nobody pays attention, nobody uses the mail anymore. That's exactly why I use the mail, because
Mhm.
they're used to getting just some, a few items here and there and some spam. And then it's like, oh, this is a real something. So you stand out versus an email. Everybody gets floods of emails,
Mhm.
but they
Yeah.
don't get a personal handwritten note much anymore. So I send them that.
I read something about the mail the other day. In 1920, the United States Post Office ruled that children could not be sent by parcel post anymore. So, just I read that, I'm like, "That's hilarious."
It is one of those things where there's a rule for a reason, and it means someone tried to package and mail their child somewhere. I'm not gonna lie, there are plenty of times with Ty and Trey Colson that it would have been a consideration, like
Well,
just to mail them to their grandma's house or something. Just take them
yeah.
to the.
Well, that's all I'm saying is the fact that you're like, "Well, not many people use the mail anymore," and you're using the mail, and that's a really, really good follow-up. And do you also do you only do the follow-up cards, thank you cards like that, or do you actually send stuff ahead of time when you're trying to book a venue?
If I'm trying to book a venue, usually I'm making phone calls and sending emails and those types of things. Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily use the cards for that to like reach out to somebody. And because I think in one of my marketing classes in college, I remember the guy was talking about not renting a hot air balloon to like fly over with a banner that's supposed to reach just a specific amount of people, and you're paying for 40,000 people to see a message. It really is only relevant to 2,000,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And so I try to be mindful of what I send to who and when and where, because if they're not looking for somebody like that, I'm just wasting some of my resources, financially, materials, things like that, to
Hmm.
send to somebody who doesn't need the message, but there is someone else who does. So, and find out like who, if you want to do women's events, find out who the women, like who's handling the women's ministry at a church.
Hmm.
You don't necessarily need to. Sometimes you think, oh, the pastor's the one who hires. Well, no, if you're trying to do youth events, if you're great at bringing a message to the youth or whatever, you need to reach out to the youth leaders and find
Yep.
out, find out where they gather, find out where a conference is, see if you can help sponsor, see if you can come and set up a table. Don't
Yeah.
fly the hot air balloon over 40,000 people. If you're trying to do youth events, find out where youth pastors gather and reach out and let them know you exist and what you have to offer, and have the good website ready for them to go
Hmm.
up and go, oh, wow, this person is legit.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of hot air balloons and flying them over venues, uh, that would take quite a bit of insurance, I would think.
Yeah.
So, have you had to deal with insurance doing a comedy event? Like, did you have to set up insurance, or because I noticed that some places have requested, well, do you carry insurance?
Yes.
So, do you know any information about that, or is that still a thing where people just have to go Google it and figure it out?
For me, I have only one time had to deal with insurance because I'm usually being hired by someone. I'm not the one necessarily organizing, booking, and setting up shows, but we do have friends who do that, and they do have a separate insurance policy for themselves to protect themselves, because you can. I mean, if you look it up, I was looking up just different speakers who have been sued. Some
Mm,
famous men and women, crazy stuff. I remember seeing a lawsuit where there was I feel like there was a display, like a cardboard display set up that looked like a window, and it had like the person's face or something by the window. And someone sat down on the cardboard display and like broke a bone. They fell, the cardboard display broke, and then they sued saying it was too lifelike looking and it looked like a real window seal, or something to that nature. And they were not,
wow.
they sued the venue, and then they tried to sue the speaker because it was the speaker's display that they sit on. Right? You got to have insurance for that kind of stuff when you get to that level, or you're booking it yourself. It's a good idea. And my understanding, it's not super expensive policies. Now, I have been a part of planning for like the Christian Comedy Association, the CCA, for their event, and venues that you use for that. We've had that requested before. Like, you guys need to have your own separate policy. So yeah, you can reach out to your insurance agent. It's crazy what you can get insurance on. It's crazy what you can insure. But people who do fundraisers, like the golf fundraisers, the hole in one, and you win a car and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
all of those are backed by insurance policies. That's what people don't know. You are
What?
backed by, yes, you are backed by an insurance policy that they're banking on. You're going to give them X amount of money just in case someone actually hits that hole in one, and then you cash in that insurance policy because you gambled wrong, like someone actually cashed in. 99.9% of the time, now don't quote me on the statistic, no one's going to hit that hole in one. That's never going to happen. So an insurance policy, it's worth it to them to take your $1,500 or $2,000 or whatever. If they do that 400 times in a year,
Hmm.
and one person wins, a $20,000 car or something, the insurance company is covered, and they actually make money from that. So yeah. You
Wow.
can get insurance on some crazy stuff.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like you can, which is it's needed. It's because everyone is so sue happy,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
so that's crazy. And I kind of want to leave with one more tip that
Yeah.
we might need to know. Chargers. Make sure you always have your chargers with and that your
Mhm.
electronics are charged up and ready to go because you never know. You could be somewhere you're like, I ran out of battery. So that's always a big thing. You got to be charged up for your business to do your business.
You need to be charged up to get your business done, Michelle. That is
Yeah,
right.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely want chargers, and if you can do the little extra stick, where if you can't plug it in, that you can just plug in the little booster stick or whatever. That's a good idea because you never know what venue you get to, and a lot of people, as we recommend, record yourself so you can go back and look and see uh,
Hmm.
what your video looked like, what you sounded like, so you can improve on the next time, or make notes and on things that you didn't realize. Oh, I said it this way, or I made that expression, and you can't do it if your phone's dead, or if your iPad's dead. So yeah, chargers are a good thing too. Well, we have really chatted about a lot of business, Michelle.
Yeah.
Do you need to? We've chatted long enough. You probably need to get off and do your business, don't you, Michelle? How much water did you drink today? How much water did you have today, Michelle?
I knew that we were going to be doing this, so I paused on over drinking, and we'll pick it up again after. Oh, another thing about comedy and business and things like that is your outfits. You got to make sure that you
Yeah.
plan what
Mhm.
outfit you're going to be doing. So yeah, that's kind of an important one too. Just
Yeah, definitely dress professionally. A lot of people, the rule is to be one level up from what your audience is, but pay attention to. I mean, last year I did a women's event, and when I tell you these ladies came dressed, they looked amazing, and the color scheme was like the color of your jacket, like a really pretty pink color. And I had gone back and I researched. I looked to see, like, what does this event look like the last several years, and I noticed that on all of their materials they sent out was the color that you're wearing. And so I made sure when I came in matching what all of them were wearing for that event. I had that color on, and I
wow.
normally wouldn't have dressed to the level that I was, and I had a suit jacket on and all of those things because I paid attention to how they were going to look. If I had gone a step down from what I was wearing, I would not have been taken as seriously, and I would have not been as comfortable in the environment that I was in. So, and I know some of our guy friends, they wear little jackets, ironic t-shirts, jeans, and Vans, right? But if they're going to do a ball, a big corporate event or something like that, they step it up and they change and they look professional for the environment that they're in. It just lets people know that
Yeah.
you care about them, you respect them, and you want to do your best for them. So yeah,
Yeah.
professional attire is always important.
Yeah, I was with a comedian one time, and because I was just going to go watch, and when he got there, he realized it was a much you got to dress up better. So we went to the store, and he asked the salesperson. He's like, "Hey, can I try that suit on in the window?" And the salesperson said, "No." And he's like, "Why?" He's like, "You got to use the dressing room."
Michelle, no, Michelle. I thought okay, Michelle, that was the first joke of the day that you've ever done. I was really listening. I was really listening to you. I feel like I've been tricked today. I feel betrayed by your friendship. That was pretty brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. Normally, Michelle, your mom joke, corny joke of the day, it gets an eye roll from me, but today you just get 100% props. That was such a good setup. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. Friends, if you would follow my amazing friend, Michele Van Dusen, on her comedy pages, michellevandusen.org or Michelle's Comedy, remember, with one L, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find me on all the platforms at Junebug Comedy and junebugcomedy.com. And we would love it if you would leave us a review, if you would go to YouTube and like and follow us, or any of our social media pages. for the Laugh Support podcast. And you can always email us at thelaughsup@gmail.com. If there's something you guys want us to talk about, or if you have a guest that you would love for us to interview, just reach out. Let us know. Let us know if you've got a cheesy joke that Michele could torture me with later. But until then, we're going to go. I'm going to let Michele get ready to go do her business. Go do Michele. As I always say, Jesus and Junebug loves you. And Michele, whatever it was I missed, wrap it up and tell them goodbye.
I'm just going to say that if you're going on YouTube, it's Junebug Clean Comedy. Make sure it's Junebug Clean Comedy when you're looking on YouTube to follow June Colson. You guys, thanks for listening. Have a great week. What up?